right, it's another Thursday afternoon to get real on this program, and of course this is Real Talk with Kike, and today we are getting sportsy. Welcome to another exciting real conversation on this platform on Silverbird Television. I remain your host, Kike Lomatondao, and of course I have my beautiful and handsome co-host. You know, oh, it's so sad for us today, but what can we do? We just have to keep our soul and body together. Marshall, how you doing? You're the only one representing Lolo right now in this black, eh?
Well, it's sad. Welcome, viewers, at home, and we want to say, I wanted to say, each time you say your beautiful co-host, I think you should start by saying your name and beautiful self before saying your co-host.
I'm a beautiful person.
You're beautiful. It will save me the obligation to always tell you how beautiful.
Please tell me I need it, because you are the only house husband that I have.
But you're beautiful. Anyway, we felicitate, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We felicitate with our co-host, our colleague, Lolo, who lost her mom, sadly, yesterday. Yes. It's a sad one.
I think that ultimately every parent prays that their children outlive them. So it's a sad one. We commensurate with her. And we're also grateful to God for a life well spent, no matter how bad or how good it has been. I mean, it's a toga that we all wear, and we're going to pay the price someday. So I think we just have to give glory to God in all things.
All right, well said. I also commensurate with Lolo on the demise of her mother. You know, this just brings into a submission for me that most times we have a lot of things we are struggling with behind closed doors. And I can remember having conversation with her back to back for almost 2-3 months now on the struggle of her mom. And I know that no one is always prepared to lose any of their parents or their loved ones. So on this note, I'm just hoping that God will comfort her and the family. And of course, we'll be here with you. And I'm sure you're here with us in spirit. All right. So on that note, I think that it's important for us to quickly listen to her on this day in history. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
On this day in history, 20th of May, 1992, exactly 29 years ago, the government banned all political, religious, and ethnic organizations other than the 2 approved political parties. In the same year, legislative elections were conducted on the 4th of July, and the SDP won 47 of the 91 Senate seats and 310 of the 593 seats in the House of Representatives. The NRC won 37 and 267 seats, respectively. The Military Council pushed back the transition date until January 1993 and postponed the inauguration of the National Assembly to coincide with the establishment of the Third Republic.
All right, on this day in history, Masha, what's your submission on it?
Well, for me, it just brings to mind where we are gradually gravitating towards 29th. The Democracy Day for me, of course, it used to be 29th of May. Yeah. It also reminds me how people, activists, the activism, the energy for transiting to democracy at the time, and all the values that were put into the democracy that we currently have. In spite of all that the military did, we still have democracy today. That's what today in history just brings to mind for me.
All right, if I'll borrow from you, I'd like to ask you, do we have democracy?
Exactly. Thank you.
Because the only thing I really want to say is, I want to borrow the words from the Holy Book. As it was in the beginning, so it is now, and so shall it be. But I hope that there will be a U-turn. Do we really have democracy?
Well,
where we don't have freedom of fundamental human rights, no freedom of speech, no freedom of movement. We as journalists, most times, you see that we are always afraid to even
speak up
on things that we believe that we should hold our government accountable on.
But we're still speaking. We're still speaking.
How loud is your volume? Show us, okay.
We're still speaking.
How loud is your volume?
It's a lot better than the military regime.
Well.
All right, guys, on that note, I think it's important for us to quickly get a message from our sponsors, because those are the ones keeping us in business. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. Today on the program, our focus is basically on sports sector, and there are quite a number of things that we want to talk about, but sports is a major sector of the economy of a country such as Nigeria, and if harnessed properly, should be a major contributor to the domestic product of the nation. But sadly, this is not so, at least maybe not yet. But year after year, talents in sports are discovered but are not properly groomed. There are names like Joe Eriko, Teslim Balogun, we have Segun Odegbami, we have Muti Adepoju, we have Folashade Oluwafunmilayo, we have Olamide Oyedeji and Bashale, and so many names out there. And these names are people that I can say that I've been fortunate to work with, most of them that I just mentioned. But there are a lot of things that are happening in the football world. For fast forward to our present day, athletes are not are complaining about poor remuneration and treatment during and after major competitions of our national sports festivals, and a lot of how would I put it? A lot of challenges are ongoing at that moment, especially when it comes to catching the talent of this youth very young. And I wish I can go on and on and on about it. But today on the program, our focus, like I said earlier, is just going to be on the sports sector, and our topic is on soccer academics of sport development in Nigeria. And from my own personal experience, just like I mentioned earlier, that I've worked closely with some of them, I have worked also with great with our guests today as well, and we're able to discover over 25 boys under MTN Football Scholar, boys who are skillful and academically sound. And some of these boys have also, who are established in US, have also, tried to, emulate the same thing that has brought them to limelight, that has changed their narrative, that has also, helped them to find, put food on the tables of the family. And on the show today, I'm so excited to have our guest. I think is the one. He doesn't need any introduction right now. When you hear Segun Odegbami, you all know what comes to mind. But he has been a captain Nigerian national team in the 70s, and also football fans will remember him from the guiding national team for the first African Cup of Nations title in '98. I think I can't remember vividly now, but I know that is someone that's also, when it comes to math, when you hear that name, mathematical. In 1980. So what's your opinion when it comes to Segun Odegbami? Quickly.
I think I was privileged to host he wanted to run for gubernatorial 2 years back at the City People office, and it was interesting that with all of the accolades and the stuff he's gathered so much, he wants to go back into politics, or he wants to go into politics. I was bewildered, like, why? Just leave this politics for them and then you face your sports. But it turned out to be how it was. He didn't win the gubernatorial election, but I'm sure that he's winning in different sides. So Segun Odegbami is a name to reckon with. When you hear Nigerian football, there are certain names that you can remember offhand. And his profile has been very interesting.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick look at his profile. Please stay with us. All right, many thanks for staying with us. I'm very sure quite a number of people are so impressed when they look at the profile. So, sir, it's nice to have you on our Zoom link at the moment. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey!
Good afternoon.
Hey! I'm jumping for you. I know you can't see me right now because you are on the road. But you know what? I know it's mixed. I know it's mixed feelings for you right now, especially with the news that you updated me on this morning about the death of your friend and your brother. That's the former American, how would I call it, this sprinter, Lee Evans. I think from 1968, he was the Olympic 400 meter champion. What will I call it now? Winner, basically. So can you kindly pay a quick tribute to him, sir?
Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me. I hope that you are able to hear me too, because I am parked by the side of the express road. I don't think it is too safe, but nevertheless, I have to be on the program.
Thank you.
I hope it is clear enough for you.
Absolutely.
Well, Lee Evans is a great human. so long, from 1975 up to this point in time, at different times during that period. He was our national athletics coach, and he brought up so many great and talented Nigerian athletes and took them to the very top. People like Fadila Tokunkoya, Innocent Ebunike, Henry Amike, Fatima Yusuf. There are a whole legion of them that went through the tutelage of Lee Evans. He's undoubtedly one of the greatest coaches, sprint coaches in the world. As an athlete, he is supreme, supreme. When you look at the totality of human history, he is one of the top 10 in terms of 400 meters. He had 11 records broken during his career, and he was world champion, at different times also. So Lee Evans unfortunately had to go home to rest, and we commit him to our Lord, the creator of the universe, and we wish him a successful journey back home.
Amen.
Many thanks for that tribute. May you so continue to rest in peace. So, sir, my first question to you, sir, is that I'm curious because I can see all the submission you've given thus far about Lee Evans, and I think that this leads to my question that, the sports ministry versus the sports federation. War, there's war after the Olympics. So, as a stakeholder, what exactly is going on with our sport development, sir?
Well, the answer is that we have lost direction. We lost direction because the turnover of administrators, successive administrators, from when the vision was created for sports development in Nigeria till now, has been so rapid that those who have inherited sports today do not have any knowledge as to where it all started and where we were going. To the extent that now we have people who are heading sports that have no sports background. So it is like a blind man leading people who have two eyes. So that's really the big problem. The roles and responsibilities of the Federal Ministry of Sport and the federations are so clear and so different that there shouldn't be any conflict. But right now, there is no understanding of their different roles and responsibilities. And so there's a lot of friction and lack of understanding. Who pays for what? Who is responsible for what? Who takes the team to where? Who is paying the coach? And so on and so forth. So there's so much confusion in the system. That is the main problem now. We need a leadership that understands where our sports are coming from, where we are now, and where we should be going. We don't have that at the moment.
Sir, welcome once again, sir. Good to have you. Would you say this, your submission, is what might be responsible for the downturn of events? For instance, in your days, we had a lot of credence given to the national team compared to what we have right now. A lot of youths who are getting involved in football and sports would rather do foreign league than to do home league. Would you say what your submission is likely responsible as well?
Oh, absolutely. We had an architecture for sports development in the early days. We met it on ground. It was conceived by very seasoned, knowledgeable, qualified Nigerians, and it was grounded in school sports. The foundation of sports in Nigeria is in the schools. The schools have the facilities, the schools have the personnel. You will find that most of those who graduated from the universities with degrees or certificates in physical and health education, well-trained, are in the schools. And it is the schools that have the pupils, the young people who are going to school, who have the facilities and the personnel. So in those days, everything started from the schools and it was well organized. The moment you deviated from developing sports at the schools, you go into an amorphous situation where nobody is responsible for anything. And so you have the confusion that you have now. Nothing is structured. You are trying to develop sports and you are living out the schools where the population of young people are, who are intelligent and who have the personnel. So for me, everything has to start from the schools. If we don't do that, we will continue to grope in the darkness that we're in up till now.
Thank you very much, sir. It's another privilege to speak with you here on. But I also want to ask that you mentioned loss of direction. Is it this same reason that is accountable, that we can hold accountable for the corruption going on in NFF?
We were talking of sports. The Football Federation is also a great part of the sports architecture. And if you ask the president of the Nigeria Football Federation today, he will tell you that the biggest problem he has is working in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports, because there's confusion as to who is responsible for what. When we were playing, for example, and things worked very well, we had a National Sports Commission that hired the coaches, that had the facilities, that provided the space even for the federation. And the federation, even according to their statutes, are supposed to be responsible for clubs only. Clubs only. They are supposed, they are formed by clubs. They organize club competitions, either the league or the Federation Cup or any other cup that they choose to organize, and give credence to those club competitions. It's like the English EPL, the English FA. Those ones are organized by the federation. Those are huge competitions. When it comes to the national teams, they are not primary NFF business. They are primary business of Nigeria's of the Sports Commission or the Federal Ministry of Sport. They will now invite the NFF to take up certain responsibilities which the government has to pay for. Where the NFF is able to raise funds, that will be deducted from what government should have been responsible for. It is a very simple and clear thing, but where everybody is coming from a point where they do not have a plan, they do not have a policy, there is no framework, there is no understanding, there is no vision, everybody will just be doing what they like, and there will be confusion everywhere. It is very clear, it is very simple. The roles and responsibilities of the different tiers of sports administration must be made known to them, and everybody should just go and stick to their own and succeed. Our league is not succeeding. That's the primary responsibility of the Nigeria Football Federation. Our FA Cup is not succeeding. It should have been big as the English FA. But they think those things are small. They want to concentrate on the national team because they think that's where the money and the glamour are. But those are not their primary responsibilities. So it is all that confusion that is creating what we have now as, our lack of ability to get to the very top, to become one of the best footballing countries in the world. We have everything it takes to get there, but we are not, unfortunately.
All right, many thanks for that submission, sir. Thus far, with all the analysis you've given us, it's obvious that you are pained by the current administration of sports in our current country presently, and the negligent attitude towards our sports potentials and infrastructure thus far. So, I can give you an example, like, for instance, the Liberty Stadium, what is the solution, and how can we revitalize, what is left on ground presently and look for the way forward?
Well, that's a long story to tell, and it would take I don't know, forever for us to go into the details. But let me just put it this way: when you have the right kind of leadership, when you have the right leadership in place, it will steer the ship of Nigerian sports in the right direction, away from the rapids and the rocks that lie ahead of us onto very safe ground. So like Nigeria itself, it is a question of leadership, the kind of leadership that we have. You cannot remove sports from the rest of the polity. Our sport is really a microcosm of Nigeria itself. Nigeria has to do well. Nigeria has to be well structured. Nigeria has to put the right people in place who understand what needs to be done. And then everything will fall in place. The same thing with our sport. For as long as we have people who are not grounded in sports, who do not have the qualifications to be there, who have no experience in sports, then we are heading for the rocks.
Talking about being grounded in sports, we've seen how you ran for governorship at the time. Can you tell us, I know we're not talking politics, but can you tell us what your emergence as a governor at the echelon of a state's executive, what that would have done for sports in your state and beyond?
Well, by now, 2 years into the government of the President of Ogun State, we would have mobilized the youth of that state and provided for them the environment where hundreds of thousands of them would be in the production line to go into the huge global sports industry. There's a huge global sports industry. It's not about those who are running or kicking the ball around. There's a whole industry around it that cuts across the whole spectrum of business. Is it insurance? Is it hospitality? Is it facilities? Is it architecture? Is it medicine? Is it law? Is it whatever it is? Or is it the media? The field is vast. The industry is huge, is global. And we have not even scratched the surface of that business. And yet we have teeming youths in their millions who are jobless. There are more betting houses, more viewing centers for football matches in Nigeria than all the churches and mosques put together in the whole country. And these are places where you will find the youths. And the business, some of the biggest businesses in this country today are the betting businesses. That's just an example. So we have the foundation in terms of business opportunity and the business world out there. We have the products, raw products in our young people, but we are not producing them. We are not preparing them to go into that business. And so we have this huge population of illiterate young people or semi-illiterate young people who are not well taught, and only very few of them are succeeding, and yet the whole industry is wasting. So if I had been governor of Ogun State, that state would have served as a model for other states to come and emulate. In my little establishment in Wasimi, you should go and see what we are doing there with how to train young people to combine their academics with their sports. Kike there will tell you the little that we did with them. Many of those young people have succeeded. Can you imagine? We just need the right leadership that is well informed, that is educated, that has the right qualifications, that has experience to guide us, as I said, through the precipice that lies ahead. Because sports is an area that will take a substantial part of this our wasting and idle youths and make sure that they are guided to go into a huge global industry that is waiting for them.
Thanks again for that submission. You know, you just took me back memory lane when you mentioned Wasimi. I know we've worked closely together on under MTN Football Scholar, and I know you have run academy, or you run a lot of academies today. So you have the passion to continually give back to the society. So I know I must ask you in pain, how many of these are players, you know, shining out there abroad, those boys who you and I have worked closely with in changing their lives? You know, we can harness them and how would I put it now, and their resources to help our sports development in our country. Is there a structure for that, or are there stakeholders who are trying to, or will I say, can just put a short-sighted immediate wins for these boys that they cannot even foresee the future on how we can actually look for how to, you know, use the same boys that we have used to continue your legacy, sir, basically?
Well, we have just dropped one seed in this vast fertile ground, a single seed. That single seed has yielded some trees already, and you know this, the evidence is everywhere. In the few years that we have run our academy, about 100 and something students have graduated from it. That's how small the seed is. But you see, in selecting the students that came to the school, we did not select even the best. We just selected any students. And we have succeeded. Out of the 100 and something that have graduated, over 60 of them have gone to American colleges and universities. And in the past 3 years, they haven't been able to go because of the government we have in America that is hostile to them coming over there. But we have over 60-something of them in American colleges and universities. Many of them have graduated. Many of them are doing things now to help young people to go to America. Somebody like Abdul Salam. Yes. But at the same time, we have a couple of them that are in Europe already who are playing professionally. Somebody like Aroko Dare, who is in Cologne FC. He's in Cologne FC. We have a player who is in Argentina who is playing. We have Segun Odegbami, who just finished and he wants to play in the MLS. Yes. One of our players, David Egbo, was one of the picks for the MLS this last year that finished. He's playing in the MLS, one team in the MLS. So we have players that we didn't even select from the best stock of student football combination in Nigeria. They are just ordinary people who went to a sports academy and they picked up football and they went and they excelled and they are doing exceedingly well. My project in Wasimi is only a model. It's a model for emulation. States and individuals can go there and just learn, and we can spread that seed across this fertile land that is Nigeria. And before you know it, you are grooming and producing a whole lot of players who will make this country proud.
Okay, sir, I'd like to take you from this angle. You have mentioned loss of direction and a couple of things. Are we also going to be safe to say negligence or lack of infrastructure is why we are constricted to the kind of sports that we have? I know in Nigeria as a country, football is very widely accepted. We have sprints, because if we look at the Olympic Games, there are a lot of games that Nigerians do not participate in. Why is that, sir? Is it negligence?
It's not negligence. Different parts of the world and different environments breed different kinds of sports talents. In Nigeria, for example, we are naturally endowed to be sprinters, to be jumpers, to be throwers. So we are not endowed to be swimmers. You know, that's just an example. Or to go into any of the seriously technical games. Our environment does not breed that kind of sports. So we need to go into areas where we can breed those that are born naturally with those talents. If you go to the north of Nigeria, you go to Mambila Plateau, you go to Jos Plateau, you will find people who can run middle distance racing. If you go to the south of Nigeria, to the south-south and to the south, the south-south in particular, and the southwest, the south generally, in fact, it's a born area for sprinters. If you pick from those areas, you will dominate the sprint events, just as the Kenyans are doing with middle and long distance. Yeah. Kenya's, what do you call it? Kenya's contribution or sports contribution to Kenya's economy is massive. Go and find out. Because sports transcends just playing and running, even though a lot of money comes from that. But the general hospitality business is propelled also by the sports content of it. So we can do the same in Nigeria, but we don't have to go into every sport. That's why in my model academy, for example, we do only 4 sports. If you want to do shooting, you want to do fencing, you want to do equestrian, whatever, you know, you are going into areas that you don't have a large number of people, you don't have interest, you don't have followership, you can't even get financial support for. So that would be foolhardy to go into those businesses. But the few sports that are available, that we are naturally endowed with, even those numbers, we cannot feel in their millions. So those are the areas we should focus on. The ones that are simple, the ones that are straightforward, the ones that we have the infrastructure and facilities, and we have the natural talent. That's why we should focus on those sports.
Interesting, sir. I have a little concern, sir, and I wish you can address that. I wonder what kind of retirement insurance or retirement package or benefit that are owed to sportsmen or like you. I mean, we've seen the likes of crisis that overcame the likes of Rashidi Yekini and great names in sports. in football that were highly globally celebrated, and only for them to go the way they went. So it bugs my heart to ask, what kind of unionism or what kind of retirement welfare package do sportsmen like you enjoy when you leave the echelon of your glory of sports?
Look, you are touching a very sensitive area there, because I would also ask you, just look around you, look at the history of Nigeria from 1960 to date, and name for me the sportsmen, the top sportsmen that you know that have succeeded in sports generally, or whose lives are going well now after retiring from sport. On your on the fingers of one hand, you can count them, because there's nothing that has been put in place to take care of sportsmen after retirement. It is not done by the sportsmen themselves, nor is it done by the government, nor is it done by even the private sector that is working with some athletes, some sports people. There is absolutely nothing in place. And again, this has to do with knowledge and experience, and those who know what to do about it that are not in charge of our sport. We need for the first time to give sports people, genuine sports people, who have the qualifications and the experiences to come and lead our.
Wow.
It's a pity.
Such a pity.
All right, so are you there?
Do that. There will be a very effective functional does not exist presently. I'm sorry.
All right, many thanks for that. And I think Marshall here just took the question off my head, because I can remember when we lost Joe Erico few months ago, and I paid a visit to his family, and quite a number of them, which you know that I've worked closely with. And it's unfortunate that we do not have a structure when it comes to retirement for those who have transformed the football industry in our country. But moving on, sir, many thanks of course for doing this with us, and I know that you have to do sacrifice to be as Impact on the road to do this with us. But again, I said this will be the last question to you, sir, that knowing that you are a legacy maker and a goal-driven visionary, but what do you envision for the Nigerian sports going forward in our country?
Well, the point is, even for me to survive, I need the industry to thrive. So I will continue to make my own best and my contributions to see that there's a little bit more enlightenment as to how that industry can be grown to succeed. Fortunately, we have a minister of sports now who may not have a background in sports, but of developing a massive.
And I think I want to pick something from what he said earlier, that we have a minister of sports who is not grounded in that sport, and we always want the best from, you know, so it's unfortunate that we keep having people unpicked, selected for positions that they are not fit for. You know, Marsha, what's your take on it? Because I believe that sports should be a place where it can actually contribute to the GDP of our country.
I would like to call it or term it illiterate politics or illiterate politicking, because that's what it is. If we keep saying, people keep calling themselves technocrats in politics, whereas they are not technocrats if they know what the true meaning of that word is. You know, having technocrats is having the right people who have the right skills, knowledge and technicalities to do the right thing or fit into the right office. But here you have someone who is not grounded in sports, doesn't have a pedigree or antecedents in sports, and then you pick the person to be the minister for sports. It's not the first time. So let's not act surprised like, oh, this is the first. It's not the first time. It's been happening. And that's responsible for many of the problems we have in these ministries, you know.
All right. You know, and I really agree with you. And, you know, let me use this opportunity to also say this. Like, when he was talking, I've worked closely with a lot of these coaches that we've mentioned at the beginning of the show, and we have over 25 boys in America. And as you've heard, some of them they've now in UK, they are now in Argentina, you know, playing for one, what's the international club or the other and all of that. And some of them also have decided to create an academy for themselves as well, to try to also change the narrative for that boy who doesn't have the opportunity, you know, to travel out of the country. At least 2 of those boys from Oganla's academy that he started last year gave 2 people an opportunity to travel abroad. That's, you know, and I was really proud that, you know, these are boys that have groomed, these are boys that understand what it means to give back to society. These are boys that understood where they're coming from, because another thing for you to get to Obodo Yibo, so to speak, is another thing for you to decide to forget yourself and feel that I've arrived. If another thing for you to think that I have achieved my aim, and you're not thinking about how to pick up another person. So I'm so proud of them. Another boy as well just returned to America recently. He also created an academy on boxing. I didn't know where he got that from. Do you understand? I felt that is not really thriving in Nigeria. I know most of them, when they come to Nigeria, they stay at my end. They stay because they always refer to me as their first mother. But look, he started analyzing for me that, oh, mommy, this one, boxing in this area, it can generate revenue, it can change the lives of so. They can be another Anthony Joshua, they can be Israel, this. And I was also educated in another form of sports, which I was even looking at. I was thinking that, okay, it has to be from football and the likes and all of that. So it's just sad that you have seen these boys who you have groomed just far, and you know, and I feel that the government can actually tap into them and use them actually to change the narrative of our country, especially when it comes to sports.
I think if I would agree with you on one hand, the other thing is that we do more for ourselves individually than the collective body called government. Absolutely. Do you understand? Because if we look at, like I asked, other sports areas, if the able-bodied men are not even enjoying any privilege, what do we say about the para-athletics? What do we say about the ones that are on the wheels? There is no hope for them anywhere, because the ones standing have not collected anything from government, have not seen retirement plan. How would you have such a ministry without a retirement plan, without no benefit? We saw what ended Rashidi Yekini, Mutu Adepoju, and some of them. Then you begin to wonder, Joeriko, with the years of their work giving back to the country and putting our names there in the map of the world, like, okay, worldwide, you know Rashidi Yekini. Worldwide, we know all of these names. But here, back in our country, it's like, we are neighbors to ourselves. Do you understand
it? Let me just quickly add here before we go. You know, he mentioned something about schools, picking them from the school. If you must be informed, too, to know that schools abroad consider athletes for scholarship. If you're a good athlete, if you're good in one particular sport, they'll consider you top-notch for a scholarship in a school. But you don't find that in Nigeria. I don't know why.
Have you gone for academic scholarship, first of all? That you are going for sports.
Even when you get academic scholarship, it's going to be 100,000.
You're still going to pay through your nose.
Exactly. All right, that's another thing to banter on another episode of our program. All right, so let's quickly discuss what affects us all, which is the trending stories that caught our attention. And one of them is one of them is on Twitter, which I have to express different opinions on viral video of the journalist Ahmed Issa. I hope I pronounced that name properly. Yeah, and AKA they said ordinary president, you know,
family.
Exactly, eating a woman during an interview, and Ahmed assaulted the woman who was accused of setting her brother's daughter on fire for alleged witchcraft. You know, meanwhile, Issa said he has gone on, he has apologized, you know, to the people, and you know, it's quite a Damilola, what's your take on this before I give my submission?
I think that a lot of times we take laws into our hands. Correct. There is no matter of emotion that must have engulfed you that will make you pull out such an act. It's like, I saw it as involuntary, but you can always control your temper. I mean, you're a model to people. People look up to you. People want to hear you speak. So if you have done that to that lady on TV, I mean, maybe you do worse to your wife in the house. It's just that spontaneity. There's no two way about it. What is not good is not good. Let's call it what is not good. Because he was quick to, I saw the video, the reflex was like 0.0 milliseconds, and whoa! For what? Even if she had been charged guilty, you do not have a right to take laws in your hands. You don't hit her.
I'll lend my voice to Dami. I've not seen the video, but it's interesting to know. I know Ahmed Isa. I'd hosted him a couple of times. We would work together.
Didn't Dolly send it into our WhatsApp group? No, you want me to call you out? Dolly's doing a job.
Yes.
You're not doing your job.
He was busy spying.
Well, no, I was busy mourning the loss we had. Yeah. So, well, I've not seen the video, but I want to believe that if I don't even need to see the video to spur that emotions like you're already spurring. Ahmed Isa hitting a lady he's a professional broadcaster. He's not just one studio rat, who stumbled into broadcasting. So I'm wondering why Ahmed Isa. It's pitiful.
All right, so so that it will look like we have the same opinion. Yes, I will come from the angle, which is first and foremost that I'm disappointed in his actions, and as a role model, an OAP, a journalist who should be more aware of ills, especially when it comes to violence against women. I think he didn't exhibit leadership. And, we keep training people on leadership, but the question is, are people really ready to even take on what is being taught, to unlearn, to relearn? And it did not also show some level of self-restraint, when it comes to the abuse of the law. There are quite a number of angles that I can take this from. Also, the woman, the victim involved should be made to face the consequences, I'm not condemning that, and the public should also accept the apology from Isa as far as I'm concerned, because the primary victim is the woman assaulted. It should have also faced the law for assaulting the woman. So secondly, for a senior
colleague
or journalist in the industry, there are quite a number of young people who are looking up to them. So how do you actually teach people? Because knowing that sometimes there are many times we keep saying that, teach them, tell them what to do, but it is our actions that they actually look at and they decide to emulate and all of that. But let's flip this coin again. I'm sorry to say this. There are times that I feel that when you're not properly trained, the community will train you. That is the angle I'm coming from. That is one. Number two,
so who's not properly trained here? The woman or Ahmed?
So you see, I'm going to put fault more on Ahmed. The reason being that, yes, he overreacted, but at the same time, this woman herself, and it comes from the cultural mindset. There's a mindset with Nigerians who believe that, when you look at somebody who is not looking haggard, they say maybe she's a witch. When you look at a child who is not doing well in school, you term it as something. So it's our culture, and that is where the mindset comes in from. So sometimes you need a slap to reset manual reset, regardless of, I'm not saying that what he did was right, but sometimes it takes the community to put some sense into some people. If not, you just start seeing that everything becomes a culture. It becomes something that it becomes a generational cause. Who is training the child? The community trains the child. When you don't train the child properly, you don't know where the woman is coming from. The woman, they believe so much in jazz, they believe so much in witchcraft. So she sees a child, a brother's child, feeling that the brother's child is looking certain way. You might feel that this child looking certain way, that means this child must have some level of witchcrafty or whatever I knew. You know what? You called Noto before, and I like how it's first of all, this is big bag, and come back and come and apologize. Yes, I said so. He came back to apologize after the action has been taking place. Sometimes you need that
factory
sense of
setting.
people.
But we are.
All right, guys. All right. So there's.
I don't know where to strike the balance. I don't.
But I needed to just balance it so that all of us actually,
It's just spontaneous reflex because it's barbaric.
And you cannot put any of us.
Set a child ablaze. How
You
would
can
you
just look
even
at
do
it
When she
it?
started talking, that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to say, wait until it's you before the woman, and let me see how you feel. But I really feel the passion when she said that could be how you'll be treating your wife at home.
Of
if you
course,
can do that in public.
yes, because that's
Just
the red
some
flag.
level of
Sometimes we
restraint.
make excuses for the men. Also, there's also violence when it comes to women against the men. Let's balance it here. Some women actually
Hit their men.
But it's more in our culture here when it comes to men
Hitting
the woman. But you know what? Because of time, let's move on to another second story. So another second story that caught our attention is that of the SSA to the Ogun State governor, and that's Abidemi Rufai facing, in fact, I don't even know. I don't know where to come from in all of this, but I heard that he's facing up to 30 years in prison for convicted of wire
Why internet
convicted,
fraud?
wire fraud, you know, to the tune of $350,000. He was arrested last Friday at the JFK airport in New York. He was alleged to have filed for different fraudulent unemployment claims, which some states in America just feel that that money was meant for the palliative during COVID relief. Exactly. You know, so looking at all of this, Marshall, what does this tell you? 1 year ago,
it was hush puppy.
It was hush puppy. Now,
not a politician.
Not a politician. Fast forward. But let me take your submission first. What do you think?
Well, good, it was hush puppy. Hush puppy wasn't someone in the public domain. He wasn't someone who was a public officer, so to speak. Here we have someone who was the senior
special advisor
to the governor. It's an embarrassment. We're yet to hear from the Ogun State government if there has been any.
No, he has been suspended. He has been suspended.
Okay. More should even be done, you know, beyond just suspending him, because for him to have perpetrated or carried out that crime over a period of time. First of all, I'd like us to clear it out here so we're not indicted. He hasn't been convicted. He has only been alleged to have been involved in a crime. But we do know where he'll end up, you know, but let's not just begin to put a judgment to that. It's an embarrassment to the Ogun State government. It's an embarrassment
to
the Nigerian government. You know, I expect to hear even from the presidency, I expect to hear from the federal government themselves to say, because this guy is as good as a representative of the federal government, if you say. You know, so Hush Puppy, he doesn't have any comparison with Hush Puppy. Hush Puppy was just one individual who was
but it's cybercrime.
It's all cybercrime. Yes. It's under the same umbrella.
Yeah, that's why it's cybercrime.
It's under the same umbrella.
But Hush Puppy, I can say, was an ordinary individual. This was somebody who was serving the people.
I think that on that, how would I put it now? My people will say, "One fear do Yahudi, only bad." Like you said, it's quite very embarrassing.
Interpret.
Like you are made to be the head of the family, yet you cannot secure your family. Let me use it that way. Okay. Because if we look at somebody of that kind of, from that office, it's a total slap on our faces. Then you are involved in, if you get people come to your office for such crime, how are you going to address it? Because it's you now in the front. How would he face it? I'm imagining his wife, his kids. How do they want to balance it? And daddy is a spender. Oh, daddy has the money. Oh, daddy this. But you people have made numerous people cry. I would say I've seen stories that the wives don't even know anything, and it's an underground job. It's only when everything casts like this that you know that, oh, so you are SSA, but you're undercovering for this. And a lot of all these things still goes on in Lagos, still goes on in Nigeria. Internet fraud, wire, and EFCC this, busting that. But is it going to stop? Are we looking at light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon? Because it's another thing when I get to interact with people and they're like, Yahoo boys have moved the economy forward. I'm like, how? With people's money.
How did we get there?
How did we even start? How do you get encouraged? I mean, in the total of my whole life having boyfriends or toasters, you cannot look like or have, I cannot depict Yahoo boy in you and I will date you. It's not possible. Okay. Because I'm going to share in your scene. Leave me like this, oh, me fewala. That's it. But I mean, I pity the wife. I really pity her.
You know, so now, as in regards to the SSA, Dapo Abiodun, the governor of Ogun State, you know, I just feel it's very shameful, it's disappointing, and more so beyond the shores of Nigeria, they are calling on our people on our actions again. What does that speak for us as a country? You know, and also Nigerians, we have an additional bad image to contend with abroad. You know, quite a number of times you get to the immigration, they start asking you all sorts of questions. They look at your green passport, they are wondering, where are you from? What are you going to do? How much do you have? You know, our foreign, corruption index has gone.
It's skyrocketed.
Do you understand? So it's sad. The entire story shows that there was, it was a very smart move from the IT of US, and that's something that I feel that we should also apply to when it comes to our own investigative journalism, and also many other things, related to development of the state of the intellectual capacity of what's it called, individuals, basically. Because sometimes, look at the channels in which Hush Puppy was picked. Look at all the effort that was put in place. Look at all the technology that was used. Most of the time when we hear all these stories, after a week or two, it's swept under the carpet. We do not hear anything. We do not follow that due process of looking for how to investigate people and bring them to limelight and say that maybe that will help other people from not going through.
But I think it's because the Western world, they actually have a template. They're accountable.
That's
Nigeria does not have accountability.
We should emulate
That's what I'm saying.
Ordinary tracking, Olokpa to track criminal. We have not even tracked the people in the bush.
Unfortunately, I think we're out of time.
We're out of time. My husband, please keep giving me the compliment so that when I go, I'm hearing us and somebody's telling me.
Okay, bring it in your head.
I'm beautiful. My husband has said that. All right, this is the time we draw the curtain for another episode of Real Talk with Kike. And of course, my co-host and I have done a wonderful job. And Segun Odegbami made today's show one to remember always. Many thanks again, Odegbami, like I usually call them.